Welcome back to my Mental Health and Crime channel. My name is Huda London. This is the case of the Idaho quadruple murders that took place in Moscow, Idaho on the 13th of November 2022. This clip is from Code TV. It was made a week after the quadruple murders. I'm glad that I found this. I find it very interesting. To start with, this is for entertainment purpose only. After I play this, I will give you my theory, a theory that I've been thinking about from the beginning of this case, and my thoughts.
Idaho. The investigation continuing into the murder of 4 college students. Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter is joining us live tonight from outside that home. Chanley, you've been there all day, all night. What's happening?
Hey, Vinny, I have some new updates from when I was on with you last, and that is the photographers, the crime scene investigators still inside this home at the time, because we can literally see them through the second-story window in their crime scene suits. You know, they cover themselves so they don't leave anything behind as they collect forensic evidence. We can see them up there on that second floor, still working. But in the meantime, the third floor, there was the middle window on the third floor. The light was on when I was live with you last. Now the light is turned off on the third floor. But before we noticed the third floor window light, the light turned off through the window, there were photographers up there, like we witnessed on your show just moments ago on the second floor, CSI taking photos. As we can see now on the second floor, they're taking photos. So they're still actively working this scene. They've been here all day long. It's been roped off with crime scene tape. We've seen the victim's vehicle still parked up front. We've seen investigators walk in and out of the front door of this home carrying giant boxes, I presume full of evidence. On the back side, we witnessed investigators, of course, taking out evidence from the back door, which is the second floor of this house, through a sliding door. They were actually dusting for fingerprints on the back window pane next to that sliding door. And this is almost a week after 4 University of Idaho students were found brutally murdered inside this home. And what we've been hearing in the report, what's being reported, is that 2 of the victims were on the second floor, where we see now the crime scene investigators collecting forensics, and on the third floor of this home is where they were actually located. We're also learning some new details from the Moscow Police Department this evening. They're confirming that, of course, the 4 murdered inside were stabbed to death multiple times while they were likely asleep. Some had defensive wounds. Maybe they heard what was going on and woke up. We don't know, but we're confirming there's no sign of any sexual assault or what maybe some have speculated as motive in this crime. Also, there were 2 surviving roommates in this multi-room home that were unharmed, and the detectives have ruled them out. They believe that the 2 surviving roommates and a young man that is seen in video at the food truck where 2 of the victims were hours before their death, they've ruled them out. They are not involved in this crime. Additionally, we learned from the police this evening that any rumors that these victims had been tied or gagged, that was not accurate. They still, though, aren't releasing who called 911, because they're saying that these murders happened around maybe 3 or 4 a.m. last Sunday morning. Police were not called until noon, and they arrived to this home with the front door wide open. They've released that there's no signs of forced entry in this home. And when we've been here, we've noticed that the front door has a door handle with a security code lock pad. That some sense of maybe security here at the home, but they say no forced entry. And this is still no murder weapon found. Still no suspect or suspects named. We know that the dumpsters that are to my right and left here at the home, they've collected items. They did mention that. And they also are confirming that they've contacted local businesses here to determine if a fixed blade knife had been recently purchased. The Idaho Statesman had talked to a local hardware owner store, and he says that the police were in town asking about some kind of a combat style or Rambo style knife blade. That's just so scary to think about here, Vinny. And this happened here. I've been out in the town talking to people and neighbors without any arrest and really not much info from the authorities. You know, many people are still on edge and in fear, have left town. I've talked to the neighbors. I know I spoke with one with you live on air just an hour ago, but we've spoken to more since we've been out here. They say that, you know, this is just steps from the University of Idaho campus. A lot of students live here, and so as you can imagine, the parties happen here. We're less than a block from Fraternity Row on campus, where two of the victims were at a party before their deaths. So the neighbors say that, you know, it's usual to have parties in this area at this home where the crime scene is, and it's not unusual to hear loud. The neighbor I talked to earlier said they just put on a fan, they drown out the noise, and they go to sleep. So it is unusually quiet here, and people are being more cautious, not only here in this area, but on the campus. Students have gone home for the Thanksgiving holiday, and you can definitely see the increased security, not just of the campus police and Moscow police, but state police here, as well as the FBI are inside this home right now, and private security. The campus has hired private security as well.
I could understand. And again, you're looking at live pictures, folks. This is inside the murder house. You've got photographers with their protective gear on that are taking pictures of the murder scenes. This is a 3-level house, as Chanley has told us. The murders, we believe, took place on the 2nd and 3rd floor. That 2nd level can be accessed from ground floor behind the home. From this side where Chanley is, that front door kind of goes to the lower level, the basement level. Chanley describing it, a lot of parties, it's college. You got red cups right there. There they are. It's just a typical college house. Typical college kids doing what college kids do, only in this case, someone entered that scene and took the lives of 4 of them. Chanley, so just to, once again, I want to go over the big headlines that you've told us. I want to make sure no one is missing this. And you've got, on the one hand, and correct me if I'm wrong, the murders taking place on the 2nd and 3rd level. Coroner believes everyone may have been sleeping. They think it happened at sometime around 3 in the morning. We've gone through a timeline. It seems everyone got back around 1:45, although there was some reporting from one of the sisters of one of the victims that her sister may have been on the phone with her friend a little bit later, like after 2 o'clock, 2:30 or so. And they're looking for a Rambo-style 6-inch bladed knife is what they believe may be the murder weapon here, although they have not recovered anything. Did I get it all right, Chanley?
Yes, you did, Vinny. And one of the fathers of, I think it was Xana, her dad spoke with her just midnight, the night as she was murdered. And you mentioned the knife that they're looking for. The victim stabbed multiple times in their rooms. It seems as though what we're showing you right now, that's a room on the back side of the 2nd floor that they are inside. And Vinny, we have a photo of what's on the outside of that room, and that's blood seeping through the walls where the crime scene technicians are right now, taking photos and collecting evidence. So it's on the back of the 2nd floor that they are inside. And Vinny, we have a photo of what's on the outside of that room, and that's blood seeping through the walls where the crime scene technicians are right now, taking photos and collecting evidence. So it's on the back side of what we're showing you currently. This is such eerie. I mean, that just goes to the magnitude of this scene. The brutality is just unbelievable. This is after seeing all day. We see right now media from all over the nation. As you can tell, Vinny, this is a growing story. This is a community that wants answers, and family members of these victims, as you mentioned, speaking out, even conducting their own investigations, trying to find video from neighbors here. There are tons of neighbors here. And this house is surrounded by other buildings with multiple residences and apartment complex and condos surrounding this kind of on a hill incline. You have to wind your way up a hill But for GPS, I would not know. I mean, you just can't randomly find this home, Vinny. It is so apparent being here on the ground why the authorities think that this is a targeted attack. Not only were there survivors in the home that were unhurt, but you have to know where you're going to get here. Vinny, it's so clear that whoever or did this, or multiple people, we don't know, one or more people that did this, knew who was in this home and where to go and how to get here.
Yeah, that's a key factor, right? If it's targeted, right, whether it's targeted by a stranger who's been observing them for some time or somebody involved in their lives, they may have had to have been in there previously, because this is a 3-level home with 6 bedrooms. 6 bedrooms. So it's not so easy to find someone if you just see someone walk inside. You'd have to know a little bit about the layout of this place. Chanley Painter in Moscow, Idaho tonight. I want to bring into our conversation our think tank tonight. Joining us in...
Now I'd like to share my theory with y'all. I've always been wondering if there was actually a gathering or a party that night. In the beginning of this case, I've heard rumors that there was a party. Some people said there was a party with 150 people in it, but that was the night before, on the 11th, I guess. But I wonder if there was a gathering, because look at all the cups on the table, and this is the living room. The place that they're taking pictures of, the forensics are taking pictures of, is the corridor towards Xana's room. I find that interesting. And it looks like there's smudges on the wall, a long line. I personally wonder if that was blood and if they wiped it after they took pictures, because you can see it's a long line. It's something dripping. Because I don't think the girls would have let a mark like that be on the wall in the living room. The house looked very clean inside. So I think there was a struggle in the living room. I always believed that. Either with Xana or with Eaton. But Eaton makes more sense because he was allegedly found in the corridor. Some people say he was found in the bed, but we've heard that in Banfield and many other places that he was found. Sources said that he was found in the corridor. So maybe he tried to warn Xana, but he did not make it. But I really wonder if there was a gathering. Another thing, the reason I say was there a party or gathering that night is because Dylan opened her door and yelled upstairs to the girls to keep it down, that she's sleeping. She thought there was a party upstairs. So was there a gathering and something went bad? Or did Jack Showalter come back? Don't forget, the girls turned him down. Did the girls call Jack D because they needed help? Or was Jack D inside the house itself? I personally believe there were other people. I never put it in my mind that Brian Christopher Kohlberger is completely innocent. I believe there's a story, there's something we're missing in this picture. And for them to have destroyed the house that has so much important evidence proves that there's something not right. It's not going to be a fair trial. I doubt that. Because if it was a fair trial, they would have just covered up the house with some form of material so that it looks all right on the outside until the jury could see the house, just like the Murdoch case, Alex Murdoch. So many other cases that the jury would like to really see so that it should make sense to them. Example, how much could Dylan see? She opened her door thrice. Let's not forget, the house is a very old house and the floors are very, very, very creaky. So you will literally hear every move if somebody's walking to the toilet or walking down the steps. Dylan said she heard people upstairs. How come she didn't say that I heard somebody walking down the steps or walking up the steps? I find that strange because the previous tenant who lived there said you hear everything. This mark looks strange.
This evening that any rumors that these victims had been tied or gagged, that was not accurate. They still, though, aren't releasing who called 911 because they're saying that these murders happened around maybe 3 or 4 a.m. last Sunday morning. Police were not called until noon, and they arrived to this home with the front door wide open. They've released that there's no signs of forced entry in this home. And when we've been here, we've noticed that the front door has a door handle with a security code lock pad that some sense of maybe security here at the home, but they say no forced entry, and this is still no murder weapon found, still no suspect or suspects named. We know that the dumpsters that are to my right and left here at the home, they've collected items. They did mention that. And they also are confirming that they've contacted local businesses here to determine if a fixed blade knife had been recently purchased. And the Idaho Statesman had talked to a local hardware owner store, and he says that the police were in town asking about some kind of a combat style or Rambo style knife blade. That's just so scary to think about here, Vinny. And this happened here. I've been out in the town talking to people and neighbors without any arrest and really not much info from the authorities. You know, many people are still on edge and in fear, have left town. I've talked to the neighbors. I know I spoke with one with you live on air just an hour ago, but we've spoken to more since we've been out here. They say that, you know, this is just steps from the University of Idaho campus. A lot of students live here, and so as you can imagine, the parties happen here. We're less than a block from Fraternity Row on campus, where two of the victims were at a party before their deaths. So the neighbors say that, you know, it's usual to have parties in this area at this home where the crime scene is, and it's not unusual to hear, you know, people excited or screaming or, you know, just being loud. The neighbor I talked to earlier said they just put on a fan, they drown out the noise, and they go to sleep. So it is unusually quiet here, and people are being more cautious, not only here in this area, but on the campus. Students have gone home for the Thanksgiving holiday, and you can definitely see the increased security, not just of the campus police and Moscow police, but state police here, as well as the FBI are inside this home right now, and private security. The campus has hired private security as well.
The reporter clearly said that Xana spoke to her father at midnight, and I've read that in certain papers like the Idaho paper, newspaper. They were talking about that Xana called her father at midnight, and she said that she's going to be at home. She wouldn't be going out. So I find that to be strange. I just have a feeling somebody, or at least a couple of people, could have been sitting in the living room chilling, and then the suspect or suspects barged in. The front door was open. We've heard that from Daily Mail too. Court TV is very credible. since they work with court cases, so they get legit information. That's what I believe. So we know that Zana called her father, number one. Number two is we definitely know that the front door was open. Who left the front door open? Look at how many cups are here. I can count at least 4 to 5 cups and a green bowl. A bottle of beer, I believe. Empty bottle or half empty. The corridor leads you to Zana and Ethan's room, or Zana's room. Her boyfriend lived in the Sigma Chi fraternity. So something happened in the corridor. You all saw the pictures the forensics was taking. Take note of that, that's important. So when you have what's the obsession saying that that Ethan was found in his bed, in Zana's bed, I don't believe that. I believe what Banfield said, that he was found in the corridor. And you can see the forensics taking pictures of the corridor, the floors, and the walls. Trigger warning. You can see that part has been wiped, but it does look like dry blood, to me at least. Although I have nothing to do with forensics, just mental health. So was there a party? Was there 4 or 5 people? Did someone come home with Zana and Ethan? Why was Ethan's Jeep, and I think Maisie, his vehicle, his sister's vehicle, 2 of the family vehicles, and a golf set is frozen under evidence? It's evidence. But you can see here, this is the living room. There was a gathering. So that's the corridor of Zana, definitely, because that's the living room. Somebody was sitting in the living room. I must have been surprised with the killer or the killers. Trigger warning. They got caught off guard. And I do not believe Dylan's false statements. Neither do I believe BF, Bethany Funk. I'm entitled to my opinion. I don't think 8 hours is a state of shock for you not to have called the police, because you would get out of that, you'd wake out of the shock, knowing that something terrible has happened. You would, the first thing any human being, innocent human being would have thought about is call 911. Call the police, call for help, because you could hear all these things in the house. You could hear your friend crying, your roommate. You could hear Kaylee or Zana saying that there's someone here. Why wouldn't you call the police? Why would you feel safe to lock your room like nothing happened? Do you know the killer? How would you know you're safe unless you know the killer? Definitely it was a targeted attack, because luckily we have 2 surviving roommates.
Clear it. I'm not saying that the murder weapon is back here, but primarily to make a determination if there's any physical evidence back here. Martha, this was a very gruesome murder scene, according to the medical examiner. According to the medical examiner, there was actually blood on the walls. And I can tell you, if we pan over, we're looking at the third story of this home. And as you look, these are the two sections where the bodies were supposed to have been found.
According to the medical examiner, there was blood on the walls. I'm sure that's how they knew it was targeted. Was someone's name written on the wall? Was a message written on the wall? Could it be true that Kaylee had a stalker? I personally believe it was somebody who knew this house in the inside layers, the outside layers. I've always said that from the beginning. And the people who knew this house, I personally believe, were the fraternities and the sororities, the Greek lifestyle. People were partying in that house. The 4chan is a good motive because they said they had 3 targets: Maddie, Xana, and Ethan. Those 3 were their targets. Brian Christopher Kohlberger may know these guys. He could have been in this plan together with them, but the evidence doesn't point out, besides the button on the knife sheet, which is major in a way. But they have to explain how the touch DNA got there. That's not blood DNA. And there's no connection between Brian Christopher Kohlberger and the 4 victims. But why was he around those areas? He could have explained himself in his alibi, although he doesn't have to explain himself until the trial starts.
Had a stalker. I talked to one student, and I agree with this. It was twice removed from the person that said it, Kaylee. But Kaylee 2 months ago complained about a stalker.
This social media video shows all 5 women in the kitchen of the house they shared. We're learning that the killer, for some reason, bypassed the rooms where the 2 young survivors were sleeping.
Their story was they heard partying, they heard noise, but they just, as usual, said, there's partying going on, they locked the door.
Another mystery, where was Kaylee's dog the night of the killing? Why didn't his barking wake everyone up? 4 students found each had multiple stab wounds. Some had defensive wounds, showing they fought with the attacker. And there was no sexual assault. County Coroner Kathy Mabbutt is describing the murders as personal.
Were they found? Yes. There were multiple stab wounds. The fatal ones were to the chest area or the upper body area.
The father says her wounds show she fought for her life.
Bruises, maybe hurt by the knife or whatever. So they said she's a tough kid. Whatever she wanted to do, she could do it.
Crime of passion. The killer or killers used an edged weapon such as a knife, police just revealed. I spoke with Kaylee Gonzalez's sister, Olivia, who described the last night of the students' lives.
My sisters did everything right. They went out in the buddy system. They went out together. They Ubered out. They stopped and got food. They Ubered home. They let their dog out to go potty, and then they locked their house up. Ubered home. They let their dog out to go potty, and then they locked their house up.
Kaylee and Maddie Ubered home in a private share ride, and they let their dog out to potty. So the dog was let out. Did someone come in? Or did someone hide the dog? Just a question. Could something have happened around that period? They got home at 1:56. Did Kaylee actually have a stalker? Could Jack S. or Jack D. be a stalker? She was taking a lot of pictures in the grub truck, not only of herself, but the people behind her in the background. Did she feel unsafe? I'm starting to believe that Kaylee was one of the targets too. I always believe it was the other three. But I think Kaylee had a stalker. A crime of passion. That was what was said in the beginning. Maybe Jack D. did not want to let Kaylee go. They shared a dog together. They were on and off for 4 or 5 years. And they broke up a couple of weeks before the horrific quadruple murders. And it's strange that Maddie and Kaylee called Jack D the whole time. 9 times or 10 times on the whole? Did they see something? Did someone steal the dog? Why wasn't 911 called for 8 hours? That's a mystery. I wonder if David Lodge and his friends have been questioned by the police, by the detectives. Has any DNA been taken of them since they were mentioned in the 4chan? And since David Lodge, had a fight, allegedly, with Ethan that same night at the party. Why was he standing and paying attention to the girls? As soon as the girls walked in, David Lodge and his 2 friends turned their backs. And when the girls go to the queue to buy their food or order the food, you see Jack Showalter looking at them and shaking his head or something. You see it now. They're going to come in now, the girls, and pay attention to David Lodge. They turn around now. Pay attention to how they turn around. You see? You see how they've turned around? And there comes the girls and Jack Showalter. And now pay attention to Jack Showalter, David Lodge, and the guys. Showalter is standing, he's looking at them, he turns away. They're looking at Showalter and the girls. And that guy's very dodgy too, very fishy. Showalter and him are talking to each other. Look at the communication going on over here between these two on their mobiles and David Lodge and his group. The girls were being there was surveillance on them. Definitely. Everyone here looked like they were working against them, allegedly. How can Hoodie Guy be ruled out so quickly when he has anger issues, when he has sexual harassment complaints about him? He was thrown out of the nightclub. Pay attention to David Lott.